Napa know-how.
It takes a lot to get excited about a bag, but most bags can't save you 20% on parts and accessories. That's 20% off brake pads, 20% off oil filters, 20% off virtually anything you can fit inside the 99-cent Napa reusable bag. So tell your buddies there's a bag they just have to check out. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Minimum 3 items. Exclusions apply. Offer ends 10/31/18.
Mackie and Judd are talking twins. Now, with 1500ESPN.com senior web editor and resident seamhead Derek Wetmore, presented by the Canopy Group for the best insurance coverage at the absolute best price.
And they lost that game. Driven to left center field. Davis looks up. He'll play that ball off the wall. Another double for Escobar and another first inning run for the Twins.
It's impressive. People say, how do you get doubles? Well, you drive the baseball. And, off the wall, right center field gap, down the right field line, off the bag. He's been, I don't know about comparing him with Rosie, but they both just are really confident hitters right now.
Esco, boys. It's incredible. Esco has how much, Derek, has he potentially made himself going from a guy who's been a utility player and a nice player, but a utility guy to now a machine? Because I've said that I think the Twins are going to try and keep him, but I'm beginning to think to myself, I think they're going to really try hard. This guy actually might be expensive at this rate.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, he's probably made himself tens of millions of dollars.
And good for him.
Yeah.
He seems like a great guy, so I'm happy for him.
I mean, I think there's a certain amount of some teams don't buy into what have you done for me lately all the time. They'll say, pop-up year, maybe I'm not going to pay for that. But a lot of teams, Judd, will. A lot of teams will say, here's a guy who's had some untapped power, or he's shown power anytime he's come up. He just hasn't had the playing time, the consistent at-bats. And now that you plug him into the lineup, and he knows he's going to play every single day, more or less, at third base, here comes the home runs, here come the doubles. I think that there are going to be some teams who view this guy as a starting infielder for them, and rightfully so. I say good for Escobar. I don't know if it's a fit with the Twins. That's what I'm going to be fascinated to see. But in terms of the power potential sort of playing out for a relatively little guy, I mean, it's been fun to follow this season.
So how do we get everyone to hit at once? Because Rosario has been fantastic. Escobar has been great. And two guys that we expected would be hitting at this moment in Max Kepler and Brian Dozier are not hitting at all.
Yeah.
So what's going on with Kepler and Dozier, and why haven't they gotten into a groove?
I think, just to answer your question more broadly, if they could get everybody going in this lineup, it'd be one of the best in baseball. And that sounds like a hot take for how bad they've been this year, but it's not.
Well, if you had Morrison hitting like he did last year, or Sano weighing 50 pounds less, Buxton hitting like he did in the second half of last year, definitely.
Joe Mauer not missing 3 weeks with a 400 on-base percentage. Robbie Grossman not falling off the face of the earth offensively.
Maybe Jason Castro playing.
Well, although I don't know that'd help your
he's
offense.
He's not a great hitter.
Mitch Garver defensively.
But Garver offensively is bad, too. I mean, he's got a pretty good sample of not hitting really at all.
Yeah, so there have been some problems with the Twins, and not the least of which would be that offense. I don't know on Dozier, Matthew, because I see him right now. I see him, get a 3-1 pitch that you expect him to drive and just miss it and foul it back. And that's typically an indication that maybe there's just something a little bit off. I don't know if it's mechanical. I don't know if it's, fatigue or if he's fighting through something or anything like that. I've also heard people talk about the possibility that it's the contract weighing on his mind. He's in a walk year for really the first time in his life. That's a big deal for a player of his caliber. And I don't know, maybe the pressure plays into that. But I'm also seeing a guy who, in a 1-2 count, I believe yesterday, gets a slider that bounces in the left-handed batter's box and swing and miss by a foot. And that's not Brian Dozier. We're accustomed to seeing better contact from him and obviously the power. I don't know what the answer is. And then Kepler, I'm not sure you'd lump him into that same category with a Brian Dozier. He had a really nice start to the season. He was crushing lefties. Everything was hard hit. Now he's just in a little bit of a funk. He's done that pretty much each year, Matthew, where he'll impress you for 3-4 weeks at a time. You think, wow, the Twins have a future all-star here.
Yep.
And then he kind of just goes away for a little while. It's like the basketball player who you just don't notice He might play 36 minutes, and if you had to guess, you would have said 20 minutes.
So he's Randy Foye.
I don't know about that. That might be
really depressing if you're a Twins fan and you just heard that.
That might be a little insulting to Kepler.
Randy Foye's a starter, and he played, but what he did, I'm not sure.
To be seen on Kepler, don't you?
Well, I'm still buying stock. I don't know what's going on recently. I think the more concerning one, guys, would be Dozier, because you expect him to kind of help carry this ball club. And here's the problem with the 2018 Twins. Brian Dozier's offense is the third most concerning in the lineup.
The last 46 games. So Dozier got off to a good start. Hit .275 with 4 homers, Derek, in the first 21 games. The last 46 games since then, 197 batting average, 273 OBP, 360 slugging, 6 home runs, 19 runs driven in, 41 strikeouts in 178 at-bats.
Yeah.
197 average. And this is a near 50 game sample size.
Yeah, but I don't care about the average as much, Judd. It's that on base and slugging.
But I mean,
for
everything's not where it should be. It's the entire thing.
100% right. The total package is not there right now for an all-star caliber player. I mean, over the past 5 years, Brian Dozier's been their best player. If you look at the whole sample.
And the home run totals are outstanding for a second baseman.
He is one of the most powerful second basemen in baseball history. And right now, what did you say? He's got a 273 on base percentage the last 50 games, a 360 slugging percentage. Yes. That's a backup caliber player. And I'm not saying Dozier's that. Dozier's better than that. That's why this is a problem for the Twins, that they got to get him on track. They got to get Mauer back to hitting. Logan Morrison had a hot stretch there for a little bit. Haven't seen that much lately. And the two giant elephants in the room, Miguel Sano and Byron Buxton, being elsewhere, that was supposed to be your season. That was the core of your nucleus of, supposed superstars, and they're not even close to that right now.
One of them could be compared to an elephant. I agree.
I was going to make that joke. Thank you.
I know. I saw you both smile a little bit. You're like, which one wants to take it? Quick.
I got it.
Arm wrestle over it.
So
that was my bad.
With the Dozier situation, Judd had a great stat earlier this morning about the schedule that's upcoming for the Twins, that they could reasonably, with this schedule, go on a run because it's a lot of teams that aren't that good.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Right. But if some things started to go right, if Dozier got it together, if Buxton's toe was back in shape and he started at least hitting a little and running everything down in center field, there's value just in that alone.
Sure.
And Kepler and Dozier get hot and they're hitting and they're close to a 500 team. And they're still within shouting distance of Cleveland as we start to approach the trade deadline. How do you think this management would handle that situation?
I think that is 100% dependent on the Indians. Not to avoid your question, I think you could still see this team being buyers, which is crazy. And I think you could also see them selling off at some point. I think to me, Matthew, the question isn't how's the lineup going, or is it 3 games or 5 games from the Indians? I think the question is Andrew Miller healthy? Can the Indians get people out in the late innings
and go get bullpen help?
Or do they make a couple of moves and go get some lights out relievers and then off to the races? Because I really see a great team in Cleveland that is underperforming and has one area of glaring weakness, and that is that Oliver Perez is coming in to get big lefty outs late in the game. They just don't have.
They've got to address it though, right?
You would think so.
Like there's no way you don't address this.
And so that's my question: is do you go get a 6th inning reliever, or are you going to go add a couple setup guys? And now you have one of these teams that's sort of up there. They got some star power at the top of the order. We saw that this weekend. They've got good players all around the diamond, a couple of good starters. The injury this weekend notwithstanding, hopefully he doesn't miss too much time. That looked kind of scary at the moment. But I do think that there's a certain wait and react to how Cleveland plays. And it sounds like a cop-out answer, Matthew, but I really think that if they're still there and this division's ripe for the picking, this is still a good Twins team. They've got the pitching staff. The relief corps has been okay, and you've got the offense. Now it's just a question of, are they going to pull away, or are you going to get yourself back in the race?
Where is the Derek who said it's done? Even Mackey admitted on Friday's show it's done.
It is. It's still over. It's still over.
But then let's be sure of ourselves.
What do you mean?
Have Cleveland go get what they need. Cleveland's the best team. Have Cleveland put their foot on your throat and end it for you so you can adjust accordingly for 2019.
No, you just want to sell. You just want to sell.
I want to build a baseball team like you build a baseball team now, which is the odds of popping up and going on a pleasant, oh my gosh, the Twins beat the Yankees this year run is very, very small. In 2018 now, what you do is I think you try and build something as strong as you can, i.e. the Astros, for the future. And so what I don't want is to get fooled because Cleveland didn't get bullpen help.
Yeah, well,
and the division beyond Cleveland is god-awful.
Just to be clear, this is not the Astros rebuild. This is not the Cubs rebuild.
No, but I want to get as strong as you possibly can, and this team's not it. That's my point. And I do want to sell because of that.
Well,
and look, Dozier's not coming back, and I'm fine with that.
If you can punch a cheap ticket to the postseason, you do it. You don't pass up on that so that you can maybe trade Fernando Rodney for a A-level, A-ball prospect. That's a worthless strategy. What you do is you either make your 2019 team the favorite in the American League Central.
Correct.
Or you punch your cheap ticket in 2018 and see what happens.
So, Derek, are you on the same page as me? I believe that the Twins have made two excellent decisions in the past 5 days or so. The Sano one, I think, is very smart. Get him to Class A, at least make an attempt to get him right. And then they came out on Saturday and said Byron Buxton is set to go on a rehab assignment. He's going to Rochester on Monday. He'll begin playing in Rochester on Tuesday. But most importantly, we offer no timetable.
Yeah.
When it comes to these two, I told Coller this before. When it comes to Sano and Buxton, 2018 to me is not important as far as what they do for the big league club. What is important is getting these guys right because we're running out of chances in both cases. So I think the most important thing they can possibly do is put no pressure as far as they're going to come back and help us make a run. What you need to do is say, how can we get these two one-time top prospects to a point where we at least can get them back here to be productive for the long term?
Yeah, well, that's the tug of war. I think if they come back and are stars this year, the Twins still have a shot. I mean, part of the reason that I wrote this team off early is because there was no Sano. Buxton was hurt. They weren't playing well. They were going to be without their starting shortstop for half a season. And I think their backup is bad at baseball. Their starting catcher is now done for the year. And it was just like, everything's gone wrong. Irvin Santana's not throwing sliders yet. Like, that's a lot of bad signs to happen in one season, and it happened in like 6 weeks. So I don't fully agree with you, Judd, to be honest, because I think that if you just said Sano doesn't play another day the rest of the season, I think that's a mistake. I think if you said Buxton gets to the end of his 20 days and he's not hitting great at Rochester, so we're going to use an option on him, I don't think that's great either. I think that both outcomes would be bad for the Twins. And really, there's not a lot you can do to control how good a guy is going to be when he gets back and how soon before he's healthy. Like, I'm going to be fascinated how they handle this Sano quote-unquote rehab. Like, it's not really rehab, but you know what I mean. Get out of here, go fix yourself.
It's reclamation.
Yeah, that's actually good. It's an intervention.
A reclamation project.
Sending him down to single A Fort Myers.
Yep.
How often is he going to play? I mean, they're on their all-star break. I think they're off again today. Maybe they start play tomorrow. Maybe they start tonight. Is he going to play every single day? And if so, why? I mean, does he need to face single A pitching to remember what a tough slider looks like in the big leagues? Maybe he gradually gets that back, but to me, it's about more than the baseball for Sano. Whereas with Buxton, it's about the baseball. It's get that toe healthy, and now can you come back up and get back to the superstar player that you were last year? I mean, making good contact, driving the count, finding pitches to hit, hunting them and doing damage. We didn't see that hardly at all from Buxton this year. So, like, the long way of answering your question is, no, it wouldn't be a positive outcome to just say, go away, no pressure, we'll see you in 2019. Because if they come back and they're both star caliber players in the middle of that lineup, I know that might be hoping against hope at this point, but then this team has a fighting chance. I mean, short of that, it's going to be really tough to dig themselves out, even with Cleveland sort of just hanging around. So, gosh, I don't know. I just feel like I'm talking against myself here, Judd. But those two guys, I'll put it this way: Byron Buxton and Miguel Sano, coming back healthy and productive, have the ability to sort of single-handedly save the Twins season, and that's big pressure.
I go back and forth on the Sano thing. In a way, I think that customizing what someone needs to them, like, okay, this is exactly what he needs. We don't just have a policy where if you stink for a while, we send you down and that's it. I think that's smart. Like, okay, this guy needs this, and this is what we're going to try to do. At the same time, I feel like some of the top prospects who don't work out, one of the reasons is the entitlement thing.
Coddled.
is just like they get everything they want, and if they're not good at something, we just gloss over it because we've got to push them up through the system. We all want to look like we hit on a prospect from every organization standpoint, so we keep pushing them and we keep pushing them up through, even if there are some major problems there, and then we apologize for their problems. We come on the radio here and we make a joke about how he's got a generous carriage, ha ha ha. Well, yeah, but he's not in freaking shape. And that's a huge problem. And we keep apologizing for that. And we keep saying every offseason, well, this time he did this and he did this and he did this. And at some point, and this is after this, I'm okay with trying this. After this, just do it, man, because this is the last thing for me. I don't want to hear anything more next year or later on this season about, well, we got to do this special little thing for little Miguel. And I mean little sarcastically, but come on. I mean, you are a professional baseball player. You should be able to figure this stuff out yourself. The team shouldn't have to hold your hand and send you down to single A.
Well, this is last ditch, Matthew. This is, hey, boy, for this thing to work out the way we wanted it to, and I'm talking that multi-year championship caliber club that Falvey and Levine talked about when they took over.
Yep.
For that to happen, it is built around Miguel Sano batting third,
why I'm
playing
saying,
third base, being a superstar.
That's why my point is you've got to get it right this time. Don't bring him back a second before you feel that you're confident.
What do you mean by that? What is fixed?
I mean, you got to get him
what
to
does
lose.
This look like to you?
30 pounds
so
at least.
Okay, weighing 260, 270.
Pitch recognition is worked on. Yep. And you're right. I'm not saying he's going to go to Clearwater and be like, oh, a slider. Yeah, I got this now.
Yep.
No, I'm saying you get the best people you possibly can. And Buxton, the same thing. When they get back here, there are certain things that if we don't see them, then the Twins haven't kept them away long enough. And if they contribute in 2018, great. But the last thing I want to see is what Coller's talking about, which is, well, we still have some. And by the way, I am not buying, or I'm buying a very small piece of the pie of, well, you don't understand, but Buxton's toe was hurt, so he couldn't. No, we've seen this problem before from Byron. Now, did the toe help him being broken? Obviously not. But I'm not completely buying that all his flaws were based in the toe being hurt. So you need to get these guys as fixed as you possibly can, because eventually you're going to get to a point where you run them out there again, and if they fail, that's going to be it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't keep going down this road of, well, but Byron, now he had the problem of that. No. Get it fixed as much as you possibly can, because you're getting to the point of a breaking point now. I believe Miguel is 25 and Byron's 24. Yeah. So these are no longer young kids.
So worst case scenario for Byron Buxton, he's a Gold Glove caliber center fielder who's sort of a fourth outfielder, because he if he can't hit, then
he can pinch run.
Yeah, I mean, you're Billy Hamilton. Like, that's a pretty bad outcome for a guy you thought was going to be one of the best players in baseball. Miguel Sano, conversely, his downside is like 30 homers, 260 strikeouts, and first base DH. If he's a first baseman, I don't care if he weighs 290, but if you want him to play third base and be a plus player at third base, which I still believe he can be. I still believe that's in there. Well, then you got to take better care of this. But like, if he's a DH, Matthew, to your point, that's the only spot I'll argue. It's like, if he doesn't take it seriously and he just wants to balloon and be happy to hit 30 home runs and strike out 40% of the time and set a major league strikeout record, and then all right, then you are what you are. But that goes back to exactly what I was saying, Judd, and I told you guys this last week. If Byron Buxton and Miguel Sano are not superstars, the next 3 to 5 years looks completely different for the Twins. If those guys are bench caliber players, that changes the dynamic of what you see going forward. I mean, Sano has a close example playing at AAA Rochester right now. You want to strike out all the time and hit some home runs and bat 200 or 210 and not really add defensive value, then you're Chris Carter. And Chris Carter, for as much as he's done in the big leagues, didn't have a guaranteed job coming into this year. I mean, he's on the job market right now, basically. And that, to me, is a horrible downside to have for a guy that you thought was going to be one of the faces of your franchise. If both of those guys fail to pan out, that's bad news for the next couple of years.
And give me Chris Carter, because there's no drama with him. He's just who he is, and that's it. And we don't have to hear about him all the time. With Sano and Buxton, if you were to put confidence ratings on them turning into the players they could be, like, I don't know, what do you want to do? A 1 to 10 confidence meter. How confident are you that each would become what they're supposed to be? Because I'll tell you, mine on both of them is about a 1.
1 for both?
I think 1 for both. I mean, with Sano, it might be a 1.3, but I think he's going to be Chris Carter. I think he's going to be Mark Reynolds. I think he's a guy that eventually bounces around, and 1 year will be really great for someone else, and we'll all go, oh, they shouldn't have let him go. And the next year, he'll be out of the league because he strikes out so many times.
I think Sano, I'm a 5, because I just think that's where he doesn't have to be awesome to be a very valuable player. He's one of the most talented hitters in baseball. But there are still problems. You still have to fix it. I'm not apologizing for that. Buxton, I'm more of like a 7 because I believe in the guy. Because I believe in how hard he's going to work to fix this. And if there's a certain point where like he's just going to be a contact problem hitter, it won't be for lack of effort. So Buxton, I would definitely say I'm a little bit more confident. And fun question for you guys. Maybe this is for later in the show. Talk amongst yourselves. Somebody asked me in response to my email newsletter this week, you get to pick 2 long-term contract extensions, 6-year deals for 2 out of these 3 guys. Who do you pick? Sano, Buxton, Rosario. Go ahead.
All right. We'll discuss.
Food for thought.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys.
Check out Derek's work, 1500ESPN.com.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to the show. TCL launched a new lineup of award-winning 4K Roku TVs to deliver the best sports, movies, TV shows, and thousands of streaming channels. TCL's personalized home screen makes it easy to customize your TCL to fit the way you watch. Binge watch what you want, when you want. TCL delivers excellent picture quality, sleek design, and stunning resolution at an affordable price. TCL, America's fastest-growing TV brand, is available at major retailers everywhere. Learn more at TCLUSA.com.
I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. The FBI investigation of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh may wrap up today, we're told. But Christine Blasey Ford, who accuses him of sexual assault, apparently has not been interviewed, nor has he. Does that worry key Republican Senator Jeff Flake?
Well, we have the statement of Dr. Ford, and then we have hours of testimony. So, frankly, when we talked about an FBI investigation, it was to follow up leads that might corroborate her account. So I'm not troubled by that.
Standing next to Senator Flake on Capitol Hill, his friend, Democratic Senator Chris Coons, for whom the speed of the investigation raises questions.
That would concern me. I hope the FBI has been allowed to follow all the reasonable leads from the credible allegations that were before the committee last week. And I know that puts them under a lot of pressure, but they've got the resources to do it.
He and Senator Flake were on the Today Show this morning. I'm Rita Foley.